Water is one of the most essential elements to support life. Without water, life wouldn't exist. When there's water, there's life. As what oceanographer Brian Glazer said, when we find water here on Earth, whether it be ice-covered lakes, whether it be deep-sea hydrothermal vents, whether it be arid deserts, if there's any water, we've found microbes that have found a way to make a living there. However, water does not only give life, but also brings death. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, water takes a big part in changing the climate variability. Water could greatly contribute to droughts and floods. When water is scarce, it could lead to droughts, but when water is abundant, it could lead to floods. These instances can create certain challenges that can affect the economy, energy production and use, human health, transportation, agriculture, national security, national ecosystem, and recreation. It is important to protect all water sources so that living things could still benefit from it. The water cycle is a continuous movement of water within the earth and the atmosphere. There are different processes that one should understand. Liquid water evaporates into water vapor and undergoes a process called condensation to form clouds. After it forms clouds, it precipitates back to the earth in the form of rain and snow. There are other terminologies provided by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, such as when liquid water that flows across land masses like from mountains or simply on flat land is called runoff. When water seeps through the ground, it is called groundwater. When plants seep the groundwater into them, it is called plant uptake. And the process wherein water evaporates from plants into the atmosphere is called transpiration.
Anthropogenic effects. These are the consequences of human action on the environment that includes changes in the biophysical environment, biodiversity, and natural resources. Some of the things that affect the water cycle and in the environment are namely irrigation, deforestation, greenhouse effect, and the introduction of invasive species. First off is irrigation, where it removes the water from its original source, and the location of where the water is headed usually experiences leaching and runoffs. Second would be deforestation, where it affects the water cycle mainly because when trees are removed, there is nothing responsible for producing water vapor during transpiration. To sum it all up, the lesser the trees, the lesser the water to be evaporated, and the lesser chances of rain. Third is the greenhouse effect, where any human activity that releases pollution and harmful chemicals into the atmosphere causes an increase in the Earth's temperature, which then leads to the melting of ice and other processes that affect the Earth's climate. Lastly, the introduction of invasive species. Humans play a large role in the expansion of invasive species. These movements often threaten biodiversity, which are capable of causing extinctions of native plants and animals. Aquatic ecosystems are the ones particularly at risk from invasive species due to the high demand of humans for water resources.
Invasive species are organisms that are non-native or indigenous to a particular area. Wherever they go, they bring economic and environmental harm. These organisms also become uncontrollable in areas they are introduced to because there are no predators to keep them in check. Due to this, invasive species tend to outcompete with natural resources of local wildlife and tend to prey on them. Hence, that area's biodiversity is disrupted and damaged. Though not all non-native species are invasive, it is through human actions, whether intentional or unintentional, that these organisms are introduced into a new ecosystem. From the goods we use to the mode of transportation we take, we bring along uninvited guests. Ships have the largest capacity to bring aquatic organisms in their ballast water, while small boats can carry them on their propeller. Insects can get into wood, shipping pallets, and crates that travel all over the world. Some ornamental plants escape into the wild and become invasive species themselves. Curtis Marian, an associate director at the Institute of Human Origins at the Arizona State University, once said, "Everywhere Homo sapiens went, massive ecological changes followed. The archaic humans they encountered became extinct, as did a vast number of animal species."
According to Global Invasive Species Database, the Philippines is home to over 150 invasive species, where 45 of these can be found in our waterways. Water hyacinth is an invasive species native in tropical and subtropical South America and can be found in our country's lakes. It has broad, thick, glossy, ovate leaves and is capable in growing in any kinds of fresh water. A single plant can produce 3,000 more plants in 50 days, and it can cover 600 square meters in just 1 year. Another is water fern, a free-floating water plant that is capable of producing dense mat that may appear solid but it is not. It produces rapidly with its spores and is very hard to eliminate. Mats of these plants are capable of reducing the water's oxygen level, killing the area's aquatic biodiversity. It prevents aquatic plants from getting any sunlight and can even push them away or destroy them as it reproduces. Aquatic invasive species like the water hyacinth and the water fern, among many others, can disrupt the water cycle by slowing down the water flow, blocking the waterways, and delaying the water treatment plants.
Epigenetics and invasive species go together. Epigenetics is defined as the study of heritable changes in how genes work or are expressed without altering DNA sequence. Organism phenotype can be altered without changing its DNA sequence. There may be epigenetic changes resulting from changes in the food chain due to aquatic invasive species. For humans, nutrition can be seen as an influence on epigenetic phenomena in which nutrients inhibit enzymes that cause DNA methylation or histone modification. The same may be true in aquatic invasive and non-invasive species. Aquatic invasive species restructure the food chain where they can be predators, producers, consumers, etc. As they are introduced to a new environment, there are changes in the nutrition and diet in native and invasive aquatic organisms, possibly resulting in epigenetic changes. The epigenetics of aquatic invasive species may be distinct from native species of the same organism. It can be the reason why they can survive in new environments. For marble crayfish, they use epigenetics as a means of adapting to various parameters. They respectively have higher and lower levels of gene body methylation and gene expression variability than parent non-invasive species.
Water is one of the most essential elements in survival, but it can also cause death. Polluted waterways, flooding, drought, melting of glacial ice, and climate change. These are just some of the anthropogenic effects on the environment. Little did we know that the whole ecosystem is affected by these effects, and unfortunately, we humans are the greatest contributor and threat among all the species. Curtis Marian mentioned that wherever humans went, significant ecological changes happened. They did a lot of damage to the environment, such as being the reason of extinctions of great amount of animal species. We tend to go along and consume natural resources without realizing that we are already destroying the environment. Let this quote from Prince Ye be a reminder for everyone. We are not apart from nature. We are a part of nature. To betray nature is to betray us. To save nature is to save us.